Metal Jesus Rocks here, and I've been neglecting my PlayStation 1 for a while now, and over on my shelf, some of those classic PlayStation 1 games have been kind of, they've been looking pretty cool. I want to play them again, and you might have seen that in my Roll Cage 2 review recently. And another game that was on my shelf that was kind of going, it's been too long since I played it, and that is the original Fear Effect by Eidos. And I saw this on the shelf, and I haven't played it in probably 10 years, and I was like, man, I don't even remember what that game's about. I remember really liking it, but I was like, it's time to play it again. And I tell you, I loved it. It was really cool. So let's check it out. Oh, right. The review. Sorry about that. Got a little distracted. So, Fear Effect was released by Eidos for the PlayStation 1 in 2000. And it's a survival horror game that is also an adventure game, very similar to sort of Resident Evil, but it's probably a little bit more, I would say, lighthearted, and maybe also a little bit more mature in its sort of sexual themes.
What is it?
Sean Z?
No, it's just a fishing village.
What a blatant myth.
Now, one of the things to really like about this game is that it asks the deep questions in life. For instance, what is hotter than a half-naked chick running around with a towel with a gun? Well, the answer is a half-naked chick running around with a towel with 2 guns. Aw, yeah!
Talk. Tick. Talk or you'll start to tick, Jin. Now, who are you waiting for?
He's waiting for me.
Get her!
So the story of Fear Effect is this. It's basically the distant future, kind of around Blade Runner sort of time maybe, or maybe Ghost in the Shell. It has that very look and feel, sort of near future. And you play 3 mercenaries who catch wind of a daughter of a very notorious crime lord in Hong Kong who has ran away from her father. And you guys have the great idea that you are going to kidnap her before the father can find her, and then ransom her back to him for lots of money. Now, that's a great idea in theory, but what you don't understand in the beginning of the game is that things get very weird very quickly, that the father is not exactly who he says he is, and maybe even the girl isn't. It gets really sort of supernatural and out there. It's pretty interesting.
What the?
So first up, let me talk about the controls. And this is a great example of why they drive me freaking crazy. And that is because they're very similar to the classic sort of Resident Evil style of tank controls. And they are maddening at first. You will see me sort of running around in circles, barely trying to, get up this ladder here, dying repeatedly. And that's because back in the day, a lot of games had these sort of controls, and it's been so long since I played a game like that that it's sort of weird to have to go back. I would say that's really its only sort of knock, other than maybe difficulty in this game. Just sort of getting used to what is typically called tank controls. But if you give it enough time, just like back, in 2000, you can get through this game and have a lot of fun. So when Fear Effect was released originally, it was most notable for its visual style. And what it's doing here is basically it has 3D rendered backgrounds, just kind of like Resident Evil, but the difference is that it's actually a movie that's looping in the background. So that's why you get the fire, that's why you get sort of the different lighting effects on the barrel right there. There's another scene where you are in a cityscape and you're looking down on traffic. And this is, your character is a polygon that's in that scene, but the looping background really adds a lot of sort of depth and realism to it that just wasn't possible at the time. And, it's really low resolution now and looks kind of dated, but it's still pretty cool looking. It definitely has a style to it. Okay, now here comes one of my favorite clips. Watch closely. Okay, now how many games do you know where using your towel strategically progresses the story, huh? Not nearly enough.
What you got, eh?
Military supply train, probably loaded with weapons.
Well, I'd better have a closer look then. At the train, that is.
So the story starts off pretty simple, but man, it gets really weird really quick. And what I mean by that is that actually the last disc of the game is, and I know this is kind of a spoiler, but man, it actually ends up in hell, literally. You actually go to hell and fight the devil, and, you know, again, I don't want to give too much away, but like some of the characters in this game actually end up down there and you meet them. It's really actually pretty wild. So I don't want to give away too many spoilers here, and I chose not to show that stuff, but if you like that sort of thing, you should definitely check this out.
Inside that building?
So let's talk about some of the negatives of the game. The first one is that it's actually pretty short. You can probably finish this game in about 5 or 6 hours in your first playthrough. But the second negative is that the reason why it takes a little bit longer even is that it's so difficult. I mean, there are parts of this game where, let's put it this way, there's a kitchen scene in here where you're sort of trying to be stealthy and make it past these cooks, and you can't fire a weapon and you have to sort of, you know, figure out the timing. I probably played through that, no kidding, maybe 30 or 40 times just to get the timing down. It's brutally difficult sometimes. I would say you're going to need a walkthrough, and part of that is due to the graphics. Sometimes you just can't see what's going on. Alright, well that was Fear Effect for the PlayStation 1. Now if you like survival horror games or adventure games like this, just note that they also released a sequel for it, which actually is a prequel in the story. So, very cool. They refined a couple things. They made the controls slightly better. So, if you're a collector of PlayStation 1 games, definitely check this out. Thanks for watching.